In my previous video, we unsealed the number 19. We saw the clockwork, the 19-year resets in the stars, the resets in the financial market, and in ancient texts. It led to a realization that we may be living in a pressurized script, a loop driven by the spark of 1 and the ego of 9, and that we seem to be living in a never-ending predictable cycle. But as I look closer to this script, I started to wonder, what if there's a third option? What if we don't have to be a master of this script or a character in the collapse? What if the real secret isn't how we play the game, but in how the math itself is constructed? What if we could actually defy the math? Throughout this journey, I felt the tension between the beginning and the end, the 1 through 9, the spark and the ego. But as I dug into this research, I found a secret door. A number that isn't really a number, a digit that seems to contain everything and nothing all at the same time, the 0. And that's exactly what we will be getting into in this video, so let's get into it.
Think with me, let's ponder with wonder, oh, ponder with wonder.
So let's start this deep dive by thinking of the structure of this reality. Even though we think of counting as infinite, there are really only 10 numbers in existence. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Every single value that comes after that, whether it's a million or a billion, is just a combination, a recycled version of those original 10 digits. We are living in a base 10 system. The number 9 is the absolute end of that cycle. In numerology and in vortex math, 9 is king. It is the number that always returns to itself. As I've shown before, you can multiply 9 by anything, and its digital root will always come back to 9. It is the self that refuses to change. No matter how much force you apply to it, it is the perfect closed loop. It is the ultimate representation of the material world's gravity. But then I started to look at what 0 does to that loop. 0 is the only thing in the universe that can neutralize that 9 and all other numbers in existence. In standard mathematics, if you multiply 0 by any number, the result is always 0. In an instant, the ego, the 9, vanishes. The loop breaks. The 9 does not return to itself. It simply ceases to be. This also makes me wonder, if numbers 1 through 9 are the program, the simulation itself, then is 0 a state of consciousness that the code simply cannot track? Could it be the silence between the heartbeats, the void where the chess pieces are no longer moving as there is no one to play the game? Why is it that no one ever says that 0 is their favorite number? We celebrate the number 1, we call number 7 and number 3 lucky numbers. We strive to be that master of 9, the completion. But 0 is the only number we spend our whole lives running away from. When a bank account hits 0, there's immediate panic. In this matrix, 0 means you have no access to the material world. It is a complete shutout from reality. To the system, if you are a 0, you do not exist. You are a ghost. You are nothing. But what if that fear is exactly what the code relies on? We are terrified by the void because we cannot explain it. It's not just a placeholder, it's a hole in the fabric that we call being. I'm starting to suspect that the code itself is afraid of it. The 1 through 9 script ignores the 0. Building its code and its loops around the 1 energy, the flame, through the 9 energy, the summit. Is this a glitch in logic? Is there a way to use that nothingness to break the cycle? The numbers 1 through 9 seem to be the fuel for this machine, for this system. As long as we are a number, we are predictable variables. We are fueling this machine. The ancient Sanskrit term for 0 is shunya. It means the void, but it also means the seed. Look at the shape of 0 itself. It is a whole, complete, unbroken pattern. The zero has no disconnects. It represents a total truth because it has no beginning and it has no end. It is a literal portal. In tarot, the Fool is numbered 0 in the major arcana. This number represents infinite potential, new beginnings, and a clean slate. It marks the start of the Fool's journey before the numbered cards come in, which are 1 through 21. It is considered to exist outside the numerical order, representing the individual's leap of faith. But even the words themselves, the Fool's journey. Every other card represents a stage of life. The Magician, the Emperor, the Devil, they're all someone. But the Fool is no one, an outsider. Some tarot theorists suggest that the Fool's journey through the numbers is actually a warning. It's a trick. They call him a fool because to the people who are trapped inside the script of the other cards, anyone who walks away from the game looks absolutely crazy. The Fool is the only one who can walk off the cliff, not to his death, but out of this world and back to the infinite. The Zero is the only character not bound by the script of the other cards. History even proves that people in power have always been terrified of the Zero. In 1299, in the city of Florence, which was the financial hub of the world, the Silicon Valley of finance, they officially banned the digit 0. They called it the infidel's number and the devil's digit. Can you imagine? Authorities actually forced merchants to stick with the Roman numerals because Roman numerals are a closed script. In Roman math, there is no 0. You can't have nothing, you can only have what you can physically tally. They are rigid and easy for the architects to track. 0, however, allowed for this invisible growth, complex accounting, and a type of mental freedom that the church could not control. They claim that 0 was a gateway to a void that God could not exist in. But the truth was that 0 was a gateway to a reality that the church could not tax. And because 0 came from the Hindu-Arabic world, the church labeled it as demonic. They argued that God is everything. So a symbol for nothing was a hole in the divine presence. 0 allowed people to calculate profit and interest in their heads. It gave the common character the power to outthink the overseer. By banning 0, authorities were trying to keep the software, the code of the world, very clunky and slow, so only that they could control the outcome. Before 0 was accepted in the West, there was a hard flaw to reality. If you had 5 coins and you spent 5 coins, you have nothing. You hit 0, the game stopped. But in the 17th century, math allowed for negative numbers. This was the birth of debt. By drawing a line past 0, they created a sub-basement beneath reality. Now you're not just nothing, you are below nothing. When you are in the negatives, in debt, you are literally living in a math that doesn't exist in nature, stuck in a negative base 10 system. You cannot have -5 apples in the real world, but you can have -5 credits in the simulation. This is the loop of doom. They turned one of the most sacred points in the universe, the 0, into a symbol of failure. The system's greatest trick was moving the goalposts. By introducing negative numbers, they made 0 a place of peace into a place of failure. They built a sub-basement beneath reality, ensuring that even if you have nothing, you still owe. A really good visual representation of 0 is a black hole itself. A black hole is the ultimate system crash. It occurs when the ego, the summit of a star, its mass, becomes so heavy that it collapses into a point of 0 volume. Density is calculated by density equals mass divided by volume. But when there is 0 volume in mathematics and physics, mass divided by 0 is undefined, though it's often represented as infinity or an error. This is the point where the 1 through 9 script completely dissolves. Time stops and gravity becomes infinite. The rulers of this world lose all power. A black hole is like this simulation's privacy screen. The system knows it has a divide by 0 error occurring in the center, so it wraps it in a sphere of darkness. It's like it ensures that no one can look at this broken code, and it makes sure that no one can come back to tell the other characters. It's like a hard wall designed to protect the illusion of the grid. The foundation of this world is like binary, 1s and 0s. The 1 is on, the signal. the pulse. The zero is off, the silence. But look at our society. Are we ever really allowed to be off? We are pushed into a state of constant thinking, moving, working, worrying, planning, constant signal, constant production, constant reaction. I think about the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. The head is the 1 and the tail is the 9. Numbers 2 through 8 is everything in between. That is the loop. But the 0 isn't the snake. It is the empty space that the snake is circling. The script relies on duality. This versus that, light versus dark. But 0 has no opposite. It is the absolute medium. It makes me ask, was duality constructed? Is it even part of our original code, or was it added? There are theories suggesting that at one point we had no moon. Ancient Greek writers like Aristotle and Apollonius of Rhodes spoke of the Proselines, which are people that lived before the moon was in the sky. If the moon is the clock for the 19-year Metonic cycle that we spoke about in my last video, then before the moon, there was no 19 code. There was no duality. There was no resets. Perhaps the 1 and the 9 only started fighting and cycling when the system was compromised, creating a this versus that world to harvest the energy of conflict. In Gnostic terms, reaching the monad is reaching a 0. It is the realization that you are not a variable in the architect's equation. You are the space in which the equation is written, a script created by a lower yet powerful deity. They believe that the only way back to the true source is to bypass all the numbers and the rulers of this world to reach the monad, the singular, empty, yet full point of origin. The archons, which is a Gnostic term for rulers or overseers, their job is to keep you busy with duality. They keep you oscillating between the beginning and the end, the 1, which is desire, and the 9, which is the pride, between good and evil and success and failure. As long as you are trying to level up in the Archon system, trying to become a better 4 or a powerful 8, you are still paying taxes to the simulation. You are acknowledging their numbers as real. The destruction of attachment in the ancient art of alchemy is a stage called Negrido, the blackness. Medieval alchemists used this to describe the first stage of the great work. Before you can reach the gold, you must reach the 0. In the lab, the alchemist would apply pure heat to raw matter until it reached putrefaction, from where the form breaks down and turns black. They believe that for matter to be transformed into something higher, its original form had to be completely destroyed. It had to be killed in order to release the essence trapped inside. Without this death, no further progress is possible. This mirrors what Carl Jung called the dark night of the soul, the stage where an individual's ego, illusions, and attachments are completely stripped away. It's a state of total disorientation, where you no longer know who you are, because everything you used to define yourself has now been dissolved. Both the architects of this matrix cannot calculate a soul that has found the 0. You cannot calculate with only zeros. It makes mathematics non-existent. 0 doesn't say, look at me. It is completely egoless. Yet it creates such a massive change. 1 million wouldn't be the number it is without all those extra added zeros. But are the zeros the illusion? Because when you add the digits of 1 million altogether, the digital root is just 1. Is there really any number higher than 9? Or is the entire infinite count just a hall of mirrors? To the ancients, 0 wasn't a mathematical error, it was the source code. In Kabbalah, before 1, Keter, the first spark of creation, before that could even exist, there had to be the Ein Sof. Ein meaning nothing, absolute 0. Ein Sof meaning the boundless, infinite potential. And then Ein Sof Or, which is the limitless light, the on switch. In Kabbalistic cosmology, these are known as the 3 veils of negative existence. They represent the pre-simulation state, the 3 stages of 0 that exist before the first pixel of our reality, before the number 1 was even rendered. To understand these is to understand the difference of nothing as an empty void and nothing as a source of infinite power. It's a state of existence that is so pure and so undefined that it cannot be defined by any quality. If you call it good, you limit it. If you call it big, you define it. In Ain, there is no you and no me and no God as a separate entity. They understood that the zero is an ocean and the numbers 1 through 9 are just waves. We have been taught to be obsessed with the waves. But the Kabbalists knew that the only way to be infinite is to return back to the ocean. Even in physics, the 0-point field shows us that in a vacuum, when all heat and light is removed, there is still infinite energy. So what if extinguishing the flame 1 through 9, we aren't becoming empty, but actually tapping into the code itself? So we've learned now when you apply multiplication by 0, you are hitting the delete key for the ego, instantly neutralizing every attachment you have spent a lifetime building. When you attempt division by 0, you are pressing the crash key for the simulation, forcing the grid to confront a paradox that it cannot solve, shattering the illusion of finite reality and creating a black hole, a portal. And when you practice the addition of 0, you are embracing the stillness, the sacred act of adding nothing to the moment, a silence that changes nothing on the surface, yet defines everything beneath it. In the hands of the awakened, this could be the keys to the kingdom. You are no longer the variable being counted. You are the 0 that renders the entire equation as obsolete. So on that note, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are resonating with what I said, please put your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please follow me on all my other platforms. I will leave the link in my description below. And I will be seeing you next week. Love, hugs, and kisses. Ciao.